I am California of the past.
I am California of the past.
I am
California of the past.
The final soldier in my story is Luis Peter Hernandez. He served in the United States Marine Corps. He was born June 2nd, 1947, and died March 5th, 1966. He died in the Quang Ninh province from hostile gun or small arms fire. He died outright and his body was recovered. He was 18 years old. He is located on Panel 5 East, line 117. Louis was my brother's best friend. He would come over almost daily. He never knocked on the door. I would hear the Chicano whistle. The whistle sounded kind of like woo woo hoo. Chicanos were too cool to knock on doors. I was the little sister and it was my job to answer the door, change the TV, and fetch glasses of water. I liked Louis and I liked hearing his whistle. It meant I would get rid of my brother for a while. I would answer the door to always find Louis standing to the right of the stoop. I thought it was pretty silly. When we got word of Louis' death, it hit my brother understandably hard. He did not eat or leave his room for days. This was the first time in my life that I had experienced an event like this. It made me unsettled and sad. Sadness prevailed in our home. The evening news, as it did each day, gave the casualty count. That day, in the news, the count seemed incorrect. My mother fretted about my brother. She told me she was going to coax him out of his room to eat and watch television. I was nervous around my brother. In those days he had an imposing and volatile disposition. He still has an imposing personality, but now is jovial. There was no joviality in his nature, or at least one that I knew in those times. But I liked Louis, and I was sympathetic to his grief. It was our grief. The evening news had more coverage on the Vietnam conflict. It was still an undeclared war. As my brother took his seat, he began to verbalize his acceptance of Louis' fate. At that very moment, the image of a very alive Louis appears on the screen. Louis is in a heavy, drawn-out battle. The losses are great and include some hill number 50 and such. The camera pans to Louis, and in the close-up we see a very worn and tired young man. He rests his helmeted head against a rock. My brother jumps from his seat and stands pointing at the TV set and explains, "Look, Mom, he's not dead, he is alive. There has been a mistake, but oh, he is so tired. Look, Mom, Louis is so tired." We are elated, relieved he is still alive, but anguished to see him so battle-worn. My brother is happy Louis is alive. It was not to be. After a few days of hope and speculation on radio interviews with his girlfriend and family, the confirmation of death came. I still cry looking back on these events and realizing he was dead. For sure, for sure. That is what us Chicano kids would say when we could not believe something. For sure, for sure. Why the confusion? In 1966, it took up to 7 days for news footage to reach on-air news. He was dead, and his image on television did not change that. My husband and I grew up in the same neighborhood. My husband, being 6 years my senior, was peer to Gabriel, Louis, and Bill Rigg, and my dreaded brother. One year, sometime about 1980, we started to talk about Vietnam and the first cousin he lost in Louis. We talked also about Gabriel and our friends who served and made it back home. We cried. For the first time we talked about it, Vietnam, and we cried. The time was finally right, and we visited the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, D.C. this September and made etchings of our fallen. At the wall I made a mistake, talking to another family at Panel 5. I told them Louis died. At Hamburger Hill. It was not Hamburger Hill, it was hill number 50. According to Bob Ingram, who wrote a book about Vietnam and maintains a Vietnam Memorial website, it is unusual to have a detailed military report available. The battle got its name later, Operation Utah. Operation Utah. Louis was a member of Mike Company of the 7th Marine Division deployed to take Hill No. 50, northwest of Quang Ngai. According to information written in Semper Fi Vietnam by Edward F. Murphy, with the 3-1 in Vietnam, A Navy Corpsman Goes to War by Bob Ingram, and from Headquarters Marine Corps publication, Marine Operations in Vietnam, are the following accounts of the operation. The landing zone was in the middle of the rice paddies surrounded by hills 97, 85, and 50. The operation was to corner and destroy the 21st North Vietnamese Army Regiment, attached to Viet Cong units located in Quang Ngai Province, about 7 miles from Quang Ngai City. For 2 days, the Marines faced a well-armed enemy troop who had, over previous months, built and supplied a virtual underground fortress around Hill Rock, known as Hill No. 50. On March 4, 1966, the ARVN airborne troops and the 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines were air assaulted east of Hill 50, killing 43 men in a vicious action lasting until sundown. On March 5, 1966, the Mike Company engaged elements of the 21st North Vietnamese Army in an 8-hour battle, with enemy resistance slackening at nightfall. On March 6 at daybreak, the Marines found the North Vietnamese Army had withdrawn. 48 Marines died. The Mike Company had 16 casualties, including Louis, having died sometime during the 8-hour battle of March 5, 1966. It was approaching dusk when we saw his image on the television screen. I can now surmise he died sometime shortly thereafter. In the San Bernardino Sun telegram obituary dated March 9, 1966, Louis' mother told the reporter that her son hated to see all the displaced and orphaned children in Vietnam. In them he saw his 2-year-old sister. He had so much faith that whatever happened was God's will. He felt God had put him there for a purpose. The Vietnam Memorial is a linear monument, and the names of the fallen are placed on each panel by gate of death. Gabriel is on panel 8 East. Louis and Bill are both on panel 5 East. There are 70 panels listing casualties from 1959 to 1975. When a visitor looks upon the wall, his or her reflection can be seen simultaneously with the engraved names, which is meant to symbolically bring the past and the present together. I hope that these families of the fallen will see these stories and know that they are remembered by the friends. They are remembered by their comrades. We remember them. Thank you.